what is your first name?
My name
sorry,
is
your first name?
My name is Lauro Herrera. And
Lauro Herrera.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm a licensed agent here with Polish Roman Catholic Union of America. And I have a client that we helped her with a $8,000 policy not too long ago, day one coverage. So she got approved for, you know, as long as she didn't lie on the application, the claim would be paid out. And as I was doing my, you know, policy review, as well as helping her fill out her memorial guide, which is a free service we help them with, just a little memorial guide. Well, the conversation of, you know, her having to pay for this $8,000 policy, which she's paying $28.08, you know, for the life of, you know, for the rest of her life, kind of discouraged her a little bit, right? So she asked me if the best course of action would just be to get a, you know, either pay you guys directly. So we went ahead and looked online for your guys' cost estimate sheet for the route. They're in Harlingen. You guys are over there on, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we went ahead and took a quick look at what you guys posted for the estimate. You guys are charging for the basic services $1,195, viewing and visitation $275.
I think that's incorrect. Where did you get that price list?
It's
I think that's outdated.
Is it? Okay. Well, you guys come up with a estimate of $5,310, and it could be outdated, right? So the idea is, when we originally helped her get her policy of $8,000, was based on what we were looking here, okay, in terms of the cost. We understand that these cost estimates do not include the plot, the headstone, any of that. So she understands that. But the question is, what would a plan, let's say, of $8,000 at the funeral home, what would that cost her a month? What would be the options she would have?
Okay. How old is she?
Here, let me give you, the date of birth is 8/6/1961. She's 58. And she's had this policy, you know, for, let me see here, almost 2 years. Yeah, I had the dates mixed up. She's going on almost 2 years with it. So she's right at that 2-year mark. So,
I'm sorry, did you say 61 or 51?
61, 1961.
61, okay.
And she's had this year she'll be 2-year mark since she took out this $8,000 policy, and the premium is $28.08.
That's a pretty good premium.
But here's the thing, but she doesn't want to keep paying on this forever.
Right, and if she prearranges, you know, she can pay it off in 3 or 5 years, or 7 years.
So let me ask you this. If she was to do something, if I was to advise her to cancel this, right, to go down with you, and she set up an $8,000 policy with you guys, would $8,000 be enough to pay for, you know, basic services, viewing, funeral ceremony, the transfer of remains, embalming, casket, the container, dressing and casketing? Would that be enough?
That would be enough. Let's say, does she have cemetery property already?
She doesn't. No, nothing.
She doesn't. Okay. So she is from Harlingen, right?
Yeah, she's from the Valley, yeah.
She's from Harlingen. We do own a cemetery.
Okay.
It's Ashland Cemetery. And let's say I'm going to add the services. Do you want me to quote you on our minimum casket, the least expensive?
Yeah, 20 gauge would be fine. I mean, that's fair, 20 gauge casket.
I'm going to do the services, the casket, a concrete liner, and the space and opening and closing at our cemetery. And we're looking at today, let's see, $72.55.
Okay.
Today.
would that include the plot or no plot?
Yeah, that includes the services, the casket, the concrete liner, the space, and the opening and closing.
Okay, so everything.
Mm-hmm.
It would include that. Okay. What would the monthly payment on that be?
Let me see. She's 58 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On a 5-year plan, and this is, with insurance,
Mm-hmm.
for 5 years, $160 a month.
Okay. Wow.
And I mean,
and that's for 7,200, right? And the prices are locked in for life. You guys guarantee everything, correct? That's
yes, the price would be guaranteed. Let me see how much.
Wow. Now let me ask you another question. So if, let's say she drops this policy with us, she has $8,000 of immediate coverage. So, she's almost at that 2-year waiting period, right? Contestability period gets out the way. The carrier plays out the claim, as you understand.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, if she drops this policy, for which she's paying $28.08, and then decides to go with this plan with you guys at your funeral home, and she's paying $128 a month. A question to you, being that you are setting this up as an insurance, now is this like I believe it's a preemie that you're talking about, right?
Yes. Now she can either purchase it with or without the insurance. We can do $1 per dollar, but if anything happens, her family will. It's like you're setting it aside. They'll have to pay off the balance.
Okay. So explain this to me. So if if she pays directly to the funeral home and sets up a payment arrangement of $128 a month, and she died in the first year, then her services wouldn't be completed because the balance would need to be paid off, correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So then basically you guys would add up the $128 for 12 months, whatever she paid.
She'll get credit for what's been paid in.
And then the balance would be due by the family, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you guys go ahead and still do the services and then the family gets to pay it off, or is the money owed at the time of service?
No, we don't. They can't continue to make payments. The balance is going to be due before the burial.
Okay. And now on the other side with the insurance, what would it would be $128, and what happens if Miss Teresa dies in the first year then?
Okay. It's just like any life insurance policy. It's going to be contestable for the first 2 years.
Okay. Okay, so maybe I'm a little confused here. When you say life insurance,
because it's going to be underwritten through a life insurance company.
Okay.
And
but let me ask you this. Right now she has, if we were to go with life insurance, she has $8,000 with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paying $28.08, and if she dies right now, it's still contestable because it's within 2 years. But as long as she doesn't lie, the claim's going to pay out $8,000 to the family. After 2 years, well, it pays it out.
It's fully insured, right?
Right. After 2 years, it's 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. Because she would have to pay $100 more with your policy, with the 2-year contestability period. Wouldn't it be just better for us to create like an assignment process with their current policy? Would that work with you guys?
Let me ask you something. She's young. She's 58. Mm-hmm. Let's say she lives to be, 88. Well, 30 years from now, when she passes away, the $8,000 may not be enough.
Correct.
But if she prearranges, today's prices are guaranteed 30 years from now.
Right. Yeah, that's very clear, and I did mention that to her. She's low income, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
She's very in a low income bracket.
Well, that $28, you can't. I mean, that's a very good premium.
Yeah,
Is this
but
a term
her
or whole
concern is
life?
she's gonna pay on it forever, right? And I'm telling her,
Yeah.
yes, that is the bad side of it. But if you died tomorrow, as long as you didn't lie on the policy, $8,000 would be paid to your family, and then they can pay Rudy Garza, the funeral home, the services. Okay.
Okay, I added the cemetery, but let's say we don't add the cemetery and it comes out to 5385 is going to be the services, the casket, and the concrete liner only. And let me figure out how much that comes out to. $53.85 and
once again, if she died in the first 2 years, nothing would be paid out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they'll get, if anything, let's say something, if she purchases this funeral plan with the insurance and something happens the first year, we're gonna give her credit for what's been paid in, but yeah, the insurance company is going to request medical records. There's still a chance they may pay. And like you said, if there are health questions that she's going to have to answer, and if if the insurance company, once they request medical records and they find their findings are that she didn't have any pre-existing conditions, then they will pay it out. And I've seen that. It's just that we would still need to guarantee the funds by the family.
Wow. Well, let me ask you this, because I know she's really in a hard financial situation. I know based on the criteria you gave me, her biggest hurdle is going to be that monthly payment. You understand? Because it's already an issue. But let me ask you this: if she rejects, your offer because of the amount every month, and there's still some restrictions, right, in terms of the way the payout would work, would the funeral home be open to an assignment of her policy?
Absolutely. Yeah, we do it all the time.
Guaranteed, but what I'm thinking here is, maybe adding an extra $8,000 to her current coverage, right? To give her $16,000 to make up for what, 3 to 5% inflation rate every year on merchandise, right? So
absolutely. We take assignments. Yeah.
So if I can help Miss Teresa, the $8,000 would be enough to pay for the funeral, the services, and the plot, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But if her health is good now, and I recommended we added an extra $8,000, that would, put her right around $60 a month. And yes, the bad side of it is that she would pay on it until she dies. But we don't know if she's going to live to 80, right? We don't know that. And you guys would still, be the group that would do the services. I mean.
Yeah, maybe she can, what if she keeps that policy? And then she can go to our cemetery and maybe prearrange her plot, because that would be less expensive for her. She could probably pay $20 a month, $20 on a plot. And right now.
Right, to lock up the plot, right? Because the plot needs to be paid off now.
Yeah, and then maybe she could keep the $8,000, because that'll be enough, for the services. And if we're still family owned, you just have to worry about those corporations, because.
Right, and you know what? You guys are really nice, because we've been talking to a few other groups, and they have not been as helpful as you guys. So the fact that you guys are family owned, you can feel the difference.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Really and we're the only family owned cemetery. Combo, funeral home and cemetery combo, and our cemetery. It's we've owned it since 1991 or 2. We're making improvements. We're not perpetual care, But let me tell you, for our opening and closing is $9.95. The spaces vary, but an average of $8.75. You're looking at $1,870 for the space and opening and closing. Compared to all the SCI cemeteries, you're looking at $3,000 or $4,000.
It's crazy. It really is. And you know what we're gonna do for you guys? Because what we do, and we help our clients, because we sell nationwide over the phone, and we help seniors with their burial insurance. And typically when we deal with a more affluent client, we recommend they write the check to the funeral home instead of taking a policy.
Mm-hmm.
But we've noticed that the big corporations, like what you're saying, their prices are through the roof. So that's one of the reasons we offer this free service, you know, by helping our clients just with a little memorial guide, you know, basic little memorial guide that gives the family at least a clearer picture, right, of what would happen on that day.
No, it's great that you're doing that for her, because she probably has no idea, you know, what do funerals cost these days?
Right.
What is the average?
It's been a great tool that we've been using. And, you know, yeah, the cost can be outdated, like what you mentioned, but it gives us a better idea of how much insurance should we at least prepare for, and it's worth. So with that said, this is what I want to do. I would like to send some, if we can work with you guys on an assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do that. Okay, I want to talk to my client, and then I'm going to call you back so we can set up an assignment. That way, we can set the assignment in combination with what her wishes are, and I'm going to recommend, you know, doing the plot, like you said, to lock up the space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to present to her in the possibility next year when we do a review to probably increase her coverage another $8,000 to mitigate anything.
Because, I mean, the $8,000, that'll be enough, you know, for the services. So? Maybe not with the cemetery, but if she could at least, you know, prearrange for the cemetery part of it and make payments on that and then lock in the price. Because I don't know, I mean, if we're going to be here 10 years from now, I hope so. I'm not planning to sell out. But if a company buys us out, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to increase the prices at our cemetery. Because we've been able to help a lot of families with keeping our prices low on the you know, with our plots and the opening and closing, and I'm just so happy that we're able to do that. Hopefully we'll never have to sell out, because I'd hate for the families to not have a choice, you know, here in the Harlingen, you know, La Feria, San Benito area. It's just a corporation. They're pretty much taking over.
Over 50% of our senior community die with less than $10,000 in assets.
Oh,
it's sad, and it's sad. So I compliment you guys for what you're doing, and I'm going to put you guys on the top of my list there in the Valley. And every one of my clients, I'm going to have them consider you guys. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So let me talk to my client, and I will call you back, and then we can set up an assignment.
Okay.
And then you can explain the same thing to my client, because yes, you know, paying on something forever like a life insurance policy doesn't sound fun, but also, let's be realistic, she can't afford the higher premiums, and, you know, the conditions on what you presented might not be in her best interest at this point in time. You understand?
Right.
All right, ma'am. Well, I appreciate your information, and I will be following up with you next week, okay?
Okay, all right.
God bless you.
Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye.
A trust is basically an annuity, and basically it's almost like a savings account that the insurance company is collecting money from the family to pay for the funeral. But let's say that they don't finish paying off the services and that person dies. That means that there is a balance on it that the family still has to pay. But the pre-need has insurance. That's why it's more expensive, because in the
there
case
is some insurance valuable there, right? There's some insurance value there, right? There's some insurance value that can, one, either pay for the rest of the balance, or two, they just take credit of everything the client paid and the balance is still due, correct?
Yes, that's the trust.
So
that's when you hear a pre-arrangement. That's what you'll hear.
Correct. So here's my takeaway. we deal with the middle class and lower, right, of folks
Yes.
that are low income. You know, we've been able to realize that over 50% of senior citizens, when they die, so let's see what happens. They die with less than $10,000 in assets. You know, if the last few years, if you noticed, you know, they've been doing those polls, and it says that if Americans had an emergency right now of $1,000, and a funeral, an unexpected funeral, is an emergency. That's why you see so many people asking for money and potlucks, not here in California. Imagine if that's an emergency, 70% of our demographics wouldn't have $1,000 to come out of pocket. So it's clear that helping our clients with the final expense policy that's middle class or lower, with the final expense policy, is going to be the best option for them, considering how insurance works, right? Especially in this case, right, with Teresa, level policy. As long as she didn't lie in her application in those first 2 years, the carrier has to pay. After 2 years, they don't even care. The claim is going to be paid out. Is that clear, Aaron? And that's exactly, guys, what we do. I love working with the funeral homes. You know, because you know what they do when I get Teresa on the phone to talk to the funeral director? What do you guys think is going to happen? It's going to solidify my client and our relationship, right? And we're truly going to help them. Simple as that. And that's powerful. What do you guys think of the importance of, you know, filling out those memorial guides? For a lot of you guys are just starting. You guys haven't gotten to that 90-day window when you guys start helping our clients with the memorial guide. A memorial guide takes nothing but 10 to 15 minutes, and it's so powerful because you're educating them on what's going to happen that day. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we are helping our clients do that, right? And it's powerful. This lady agreed. But you know what's even more powerful? That she recognized that family-owned mortuaries and funeral homes are still a lot more human in terms of considering the neighborhood. These big corporations, it's business. Their prices are ridiculous. And this is another reason I help my clients with a memorial guide, because part of that is educating them that you can negotiate with the funeral home, guys. So for everyone that's listening here on YouTube, if you are out there selling final expense, I recommend that you take some time to do a memorial guide for your client. I recommend that you understand the differences between what a pre-need plan is and what a final expense is. Both of those products have value. One is not better than the other, but one is better for a different type of person. If you're a wealthy person, the best recommendation by your estate planner or your tax attorney or your trust attorney is write the check and get it over. If you do not have the resources, like Miss Teresa, 58 years old, day one coverage, $8,000 worth of coverage. As long as she doesn't pay, $8,000 is going to be paid out, regardless if she made one payment or she made 24 payments. The claim is paid. And that, my friends, is a major selling point for us as final expense guys. But once again, both of these products obviously have a value, and we just got to learn how to identify it. The most important one for all of us is to do the best thing for our clients, and helping them fill out this memorial guide, it increases the amount of retention that your block of business will have. All right. Okay, guys, well, let's get going.